Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the 5th episode in my Classic Cars Sprint Championship on F1 2017. Last time out we had the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and it was a very, very interesting Grand Prix. I mean, there was the crash, collision, pile-up, logjam, whatever you want to describe it as, at the Ascari chicane, and that was quite an interesting series of events, but ultimately it didn't really change anything at the front. Yes, there was a Ferrari, he was in the points positions, locked up, got stuck. He allowed me to gain a couple of positions as I avoided that pile-up just as it was forming, but it ultimately didn't really change what happened at the front, because at the front it was 1998 McLaren dominance. The top four, first, second, third and fourth position, the finishers in that race were all 1998 McLaren drivers. That's dominance on a completely new level, and let's not forget that all of the 1998 McLarens started the race in the bottom half of the field. So they all started in the bottom half of the field, they all finished in the top four, and they did it within 5 laps. To be perfectly honest, I think they got into the top four within 4 laps, possibly even within 3 laps. And in fact, 5 of the points position finishers, so 5 of the top 6 were McLarens. There was a 96 Williams that just about took 5th place from a 91 McLaren on the final lap of the Grand Prix, but that was really it. There was one Williams in a top 6 that was otherwise dominated by McLaren. And that is really the story of the Italian Grand Prix. It was McLaren dominance. So as you would expect, the Italian Grand Prix had a big impact on the Drivers' Championship. I'm no longer leading it, I am joint leading it though with a 1998 McLaren driver. But if you look at the top 8 positions in the Drivers' Championship, all of the top 8 are either 98 McLaren drivers or 92 Williams drivers. That says a lot about this championship to date, and here we are for the Canadian Grand Prix at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and on the face of it, this circuit is very similar to Monza in the sense of it's a high-speed oval with a couple of chicanes, but there's more to it than that. We've got two 88 McLarens at the front, a 91 McLaren, 95 Ferrari in 4th. Now, we saw in Monza that those slower cars just dropped back. The 88 McLarens were nowhere. They were actually kind of a danger to have on circuit. I don't think that will quite be the same case here, because the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is different enough from Monza to where it's not going to just be a complete rehash. But here we are. The lights are coming on for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. And eventually the lights are out and away we go. And I'm going to get past one of my teammates, I think, from 19th place up into 18th place under braking for the first corner. Got past another 92 Williams. There's 3 98 McLarens all around me. Another 92 Williams up ahead. You can tell the 2 cars that have done well in this championship because they're the cars starting at the back, which makes no sense until you remember that this is a reverse grid championship, effectively, in essence anyway. And now up into 16th place. I've had a decent start. I started in 19th. And I'm up into 16th, but there's 2 98 McLarens up ahead, make that potentially 1. No, I just cannot get past, there wasn't the space there. And accelerating out to the corner. Here's the thing is, the initial drive out to the corner, the Williams has probably got it due to the traction control and the fully slick tyres, but on the actual power, it's the 98 McLaren who has the advantage. As you can see behind me, heading into the previous chicane, that 98 McLaren was all over me. Under braking though, for this incredibly tight hairpin, and I think I've passed all of the 98 McLarens. In fact, that exit was not all that great. There's me talking about the great exits you can get in this car, and not particularly. I've been able to solidify the move on one of the 98 McLarens, but heading down towards the final chicane. It's a power part of the circuit, but here's the braking part of the circuit. And am I going to get past finally this time? In fact, they're going really slowly up ahead. I don't know whether there's been an incident or whether there's just a slow car blocking the traffic, but I've been re-overtaken now for 16th place. In fact, 17th. Here's the thing, with the 98 McLarens all around me, it's been a long time. In fact, I don't think we've really had a battle, an on-track battle between the 92 Williams and the 98 McLaren. it's either been they've been plainly quicker or we've been plainly quicker. In fact, actually, the 92 Williams, all of the wins the 92 Williams have accrued this season so far have been due to starting high up the field, but now we're all starting at the back really late on the brakes. I think barging the 98 McLaren out of the way there, up into 12th place. We're going to get a replay of that move because I'll be honest, that was probably one of the worst moves I've done for some time. It was so aggressive and dirty. Now, was there contact? Because it certainly did look like it. Under braking, yeah, there was. You can see the 98 McLaren, he's been forced out now, and now there's a 96 Williams directly behind me when it should be the McLaren because I pushed him out of the way. Yeah, that is one of the most aggressive, dirty, needlessly forceful moves I've ever done. But it is not the worst display of driving in this series so far, which I think says a lot. And here we've got a 91 McLaren who's... in fact, actually, it's not all that friendly between the Marlboro McLarens. He's been able to get past one of the 88 McLarens, but we have still got a 1988 McLaren in the lead. In fact, the top three cars are all ones that Ayrton Senna drove. Not only are they ones that Ayrton Senna drove, they're ones that he won World Championships in, but it's quite obvious which one was the quicker. It's the 91 McLaren that has taken the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Now, the 88 McLarens, so far this season, they've been fairly hopeless, to be perfectly honest, and I think we're going to see another example of it. We've got a 95 Ferrari who's going to get past a 88 McLaren Honda, although he's going to have to do it around the outside. That won't be all that easy, and mirrors the contact. He's going through a left-handed corner, one-handed, as he has to stick his hand up to gesticulate, but there you go, third place for the Ferrari driver. And here we go, here's the power part of the circuit, because on the first kind of half of the circuit, there's more chicanes, more corners, but then the run back towards the line, the second half of the circuit, there's one chicane. So that's the power half of the circuit, and hence why he was able to take second from the 88 McLaren driver. Now the battle for 6th place. Quite a lot happened at the start. This is still on the first lap of the Grand Prix. It's because the 88 McLarens, they are, as we've already established, are not all that quick in a straight line. It does make me wonder if all of the cars, well, it's okay, I mean, maybe not the 98 McLaren, but if the 88 McLaren was as quick as all of the others in a straight line, it'd be interesting to see how well it does. In fact, there you go. We saw in the first lap, everyone was going really slowly. That's why I think the Ferrari hopped over the curb. There was a 91 McLaren that lost out there. There's an 88 McLaren who did alright because he was in the middle, whereas the 91 McLaren was on the outside, forced out. He's now been overtaken by another Ferrari. So we've got Ferraris in now 4th and 6th. So this Ferrari's in 4th. We've now got the other Ferrari in 6th place. Only was gifted 6th. We saw that kind of logjam concertina effect, which punted out the 91 Ferrari. The 91 McLaren. That's how this Ferrari got by. So that's how he's got into 6th, but I think we're going to see how he got into 5th place. He's behind a 88 McLaren, I do believe. Oh yeah, there's the straight line speed difference. That is definitely an 88 McLaren. He's got the inside line this time, unlike his teammate a lap prior, and he has been able to make the move up into 5th place, and it just doesn't really ever stop, because I mean, Monza, I would probably say that there was a similar amount of on-track action here than there was in Monza, but in Monza it came in one big massive lump. Here, because it's not quite as easy to overtake around, it was more, there was kind of a constant stream of it, which means it was, well, constant. As you can see, we've now got another car getting past the 88 McLaren, and that is a 96 Williams up into 6th place. And in fact, woohoo, we're seeing a car offline there, going slowly. So that's yeah, we'll have to find out what that's all about. But oh yeah, backtracking a bit. So we saw the 95 Ferrari. This is at the end of the first lap, the 95 Ferrari. Here we go, because we've got a 91 McLaren. There's an 88 in the middle, 95 Ferrari on the left-hand side. They're both trying to get past the 88 McLaren, but the 91 McLaren, because he had the outside line, he was then forced out because, I mean, the McLaren had to give both cars room, and to not, I mean, it would have been an illegal overtake if the Ferrari hopped over the curb and passed the 88 McLaren, even though it was a case of 3 cars into one tight corner didn't work, and the 91 McLaren was on the outside line, so he lost out. And second lap, another, not pile-up, but certainly back-up. Yellow flag, illegal overtake by myself there. So yeah, we saw this on the external camera. The car going slowly offline was me, because, well, I mean, cars are going slowly, I overtook, it was yellow flags, and now we got, you know, now I've had to give the position back. I've actually lost the position to Howard Clark. That wasn't meant to happen. I just needed to give a place back to one of the 96 Williams, but I definitely misjudged that. Back up into 12th place now on the third lap of the Grand Prix. Now, by this time in the Italian Grand Prix, the race was pretty much done, certainly at the front. Not so in this Grand Prix. I think we are going to see a replay of what happened from my perspective. So, there were the cars that were battling heading into that chicane. We saw that this is when the Williams got past the 88 McLaren. Now, I know I'm going back and forth chronologically through this race, but so many events happened, and you know, this was the most logical way I could string it all together, because, of course, you know, I don't want to kind of, well, basically, anyway, that was what happened. You're seeing it from the external perspective, but yes. So, I think we don't have to do any more backtracking now. Maybe we do. We've got a 96 Williams in 9th place. Now this, I don't know whether this links to the previous incident. I mean, we've already seen a 96 Williams get passed into 6th. I think we could well see more 96 Williams. In fact, no, maybe not. No, I think this is a replay of the incident we just saw. So this is when the 96 Williams got into 6th place. And here's another one who tried to also get past. And that was the root cause of the pile-up. There's me steaming on by under yellow flag, so I had to back up. Yeah, and that was ultimate. That was what caused it. That was the second 96 Williams that tried to get by. So actually, the one that made the move in the first place, I mean, isn't really to blame. You can see it from overhead. The one that got into 6th was fine. It was just, it was another case of 3 into 1 doesn't work. But 5 laps, reverse grids, you have to overtake quickly because only the top 6 score points, and there's only 5 laps. So in a way, it actually encourages forceful overtakes. I said earlier on that my overtake on the McLaren was needlessly forceful, but I'll be honest, it was kind of a necessity given the format of this championship. And we're seeing it again, even 3rd lap now. That's the 3rd time that we've seen a pile-up on the final chicane right by the Wall of Champions. Amazingly, a car hasn't actually got stuck in the Wall of Champions, although if it was this Ferrari, it would not have been appropriate, because this Ferrari is the only car here not to have won a championship. Although he was on the inside line, so he would not have been the one heading towards the wall. That would have been the 91 McLaren, who didn't end up in the wall, but you can understand. I think you can sympathise with why there's all these overtakes happening, especially when you're a Ferrari, because you know, if you don't overtake soon, then the 98 McLarens will. It's a case of, if you don't take your first, or certainly your second opportunity to overtake, then the quicker car that started further back will. And that's the format of the championship. Short races, very few points possessions, quick cars at the back, slower cars at the front. It encourages this sort of racing and drama, and you know, it's dirty, it's aggressive, but it's a necessity. If you want to score points, you have to do it, and you know, maybe everybody's crossing the line, but I mean, you may as well crash out in last than finish in 7th. It makes no real difference. You still score 0 points either way. And I know, of course, there is a difference between 7th and 20th, because you know, if you're tied on points with someone, it would go to the next best finish. But you know, in a 6-race championship, would that ever happen? I don't know why I'm getting stuck into the details, because who really cares? We've got a 98 McLaren up into 8th place. If this was based off of the 2003 to 2009 point system, that would be a points position, but it isn't. Battle for the race lead. We never saw this in Monza because, of course, everyone was in the same car, but we've got a 91 McLaren and a 95 Ferrari. Neither of these cars has won a race in this series. All of the race wins have been either from 92 Williams or 98 McLarens. 3 92 Williams race wins, 1 98 McLaren race win, but I think the Canadian Grand Prix is going to be a 95 Ferrari race win. And if Jean Alesi drove this car, which I believe he did, then it would be very appropriate. In fact, Jean Alesi won the Canadian Grand Prix. I'm not sure if it was the 95 Canadian Grand Prix, but if it was, then this is really just history repeating itself, isn't it? And here we go, we've got another 88 McLaren. The 188 McLaren who is still in the points place. We saw one who I passed to get into 7th place, but this one, this 88 McLaren, the oldest car here, the slowest car here, was in 3rd place. He's still in 4th. Even if those 2 cars overtake him, he's still in 6th. Because the next car is me. And I'm a good way back from this battle. I mean, I had to clear all of the other... I mean, you've seen what I've had to get through. I started from 19th and I'm up into 7th. So I've had to get through a lot of cars. We've got the 88 McLaren now down into 5th place as a 95 Ferrari has passed me. We've got a 96 Williams who's now going to do it. And there you go. That is the start of the final lap. But the 88 McLaren is in 6th with 1 lap left to go. And look behind, there's no one there. The next person there would be me, but here we go. I'm about to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the gap between myself and Esto Sari. The gap is over 3 seconds. Oh, this is... I mean, there he is. There he is. He's not that far ahead. But this... I mean, skipping on later into the lap. I'm in a plainly quicker car, a newer car. It's quicker in every single sense, but 1 lap to catch up a 3-second gap. I mean, they always say in F1, catching's one thing and passing is quite another. In this particular instance, is quite the other. Because overtaking, passing would be dead easy, but can I catch up with half a lap left to go? There's a 98 McLaren directly behind. I said him getting into 8th was meaningless. Well, I'll tell you what, it might now have a meaning coming up towards the final chicane. That 98 McLaren, he has got the speed to easily pass me and the 88 McLaren. The difference, well, the question is will I even be able to pass the 88 McLaren? The run towards the line, and the 88 McLaren has done it. I mean, I finished in 7th, and I should be disappointed about that, but the 88 McLarens haven't scored any points so far this season, and there you go, look at that. A 1988 McLaren, an MP4/4, won the Grand Prix, no, not won the Grand Prix, sorry, no, I was getting ahead of myself there, but scored a point, 1 point, finished in 6th. So that means that all of the cars, well, all of the models of cars, have scored a point. And of course, let's not forget the 95 Ferrari that won the Grand Prix. So that's the 3rd different model of car to win a race so far this season, and you can see it's had a profound effect on the championship. The top cars in the championship are no longer just 92 Williams and 98 McLarens. There's a 91 McLaren now in 9th. There is a 95 Ferrari in joint 3rd with 10 points. The thing is though, is that's a mediocre car high up in the championship. That means that for the final round of the season, he's going to be in a mediocre car starting towards the back, starting in 18th place. I mean, the chances of him scoring points is slim. I'll be honest, he is probably the person least likely to score points because I'm only 1 position behind and there's a 98 McLaren who will only be 2 positions behind in much quicker cars. But it's kind of academic because I don't think any of us will be scoring points. The final round of the season, it's the Monaco Grand Prix, the 6th round of the season, the Monaco Grand Prix, and it's 5 laps. It's a reverse grid, it's at Monaco, and we've seen how this goes before. In the 21st Century Championship, well, let me make that clearer. That's the Classic Cars Sprint Championship with the Class 1 cars, so the 2002 Ferrari, which I was in, right up to the 2010 Red Bull. Now, we did this championship with those cars, and Monaco, nothing happened. Not really. I mean, there were some positional changes amongst those who started in the top 6, certainly amongst the top 8, but I think the real underlying message from that race was, if you're not starting in the top 8, you're not going to be scoring points. Even despite the fact the championship is largely done, the Monaco Grand Prix will be interesting in of itself. It won't make a massive impact on the championship, but the race could well be interesting. So, I hope you guys will join me for it in, I think, a week's time. So, I'll see you guys then.